Jam Session is a podcast where two guys who grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth discuss sports, craft beer, life, and their experiences living in one of America's most vibrant cities. If you love sports, you're going to love this show. If you love craft beer or you're curious about it, you'll love this show. Great conversations with good friends is what Jam Session is all about.
Welcome. It's nice to have you here. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
You're listening to the Jam Session Podcast.
I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume.
With Cowboys insider...
What's your name?
Jean-Jacques Taylor.
That's my name.
Radio personality and craft beer expert, Matt McLaren.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing.
And now, the Jam Session Podcast. It is indeed Jam Session. Subscribe, rate, and review, and hang out with us for a while. Right here on the Jam Session Podcast, officially sponsored by Greening Law, a personal injury law firm in Dallas, Texas. Greening Law fights the legal battle so you have time for healing and renewal. But right now, the moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, the radio, TV, and now podcast star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor.
What up, Doc?
I would be the non-sexy one, Matt McLaren. And this is Jam Session, the podcast, version 67, asking simply that you prepare to be dazzled.
If not entertained.
Which I can assure you, you will be by the Green Team. That's what they call themselves, the Green Team. Robert Greening at Greening Law. If you've been in a car accident, maybe you are a victim of medical malpractice, other personal injury accidents, you are leaving potentially all this stuff on the table because, look, thousands of dollars in medical bills can add up. Lost wages on the table if you can't work that could otherwise be covered. This is when you need to call Robert Greening at Greening Law.
Well, here's the deal, Matt. A lot of people get involved in these things, and it doesn't matter whether we're talking about car accidents or medical malpractice or any of the other personal injury accidents. And for some reason, dog, they never call an attorney.
Yep. I don't know why.
I don't know, man. They leave thousands, maybe more than that, maybe millions in medical bills and lost wages on the table that they could get back. So let me just tell y'all something. Pick up the phone if you got a problem. Call the Green Team. Let them go to work for you.
Yeah, make it happen. They are local, man, right here in Dallas, Texas. It's Greening Law. You can give them a call right now, 972-934-8900. Or, you know what I would encourage you to do? You may be going, hey, that's never happened to me. Okay, cool. That's awesome for you. If it hasn't, just make sure you're aware of this guy. Keep his number handy in case at some point in life you do need that number. One of the great things about this, consultations are absolutely free. You have nothing to lose, and there are no hourly attorney's fees. They only get paid if you recover. That's Greening Law, 972-934-8900. Also, of course, we will be talking this episode to our ESPN Cowboys insider, his side, what he knows about the Dak Prescott contract, as we are going to explore all that again here today with you. And, of course, as always, Todd brought to you by BlueStarMotorGroup.com. Another local family-owned business, Blue Star Motor Group. Check them out. If you have a car need, if you're looking to buy or sell, perhaps you're like me and you saw their Instagram and you're like, wait a second, there's no way that deal can possibly be real. Call Deb, man. Deb, they own the company. You're talking to the owners when you give her a call. 817-881-4066. Superior quality, Carfax certified, pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models. Blue Star Motor Group is where, if I'm going to tell you right now, at some point I'm hoping, I don't know when it's going to be, may not be this year, maybe in 2022, my next car is coming from Blue Star Motor Group.
How about that? That's a bold prediction right there.
I know it is because I've seen it on their website. I just hope it's still there.
And if it ain't, guess what? They can go get you something that looks almost identical.
There is one, and I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want, I don't know. Maybe it'll just still be there somehow miraculously.
It's not going to be there in 2 years.
I know, but I still, you get on the website and you look at it like, okay, there it is. There it is. And you just go look every day and you're like, you know what? It's coming to me. I'm going to get that one right there. And it's sitting there. And maybe you're looking at the same one. And if you are, hey, props to you because life is all about timing. So don't wait. If you are in that situation, give Deb a call, 817-881-4066, or check them out online. You can see all their inventory, their customer reviews at bluestarmotorgroup.com, and, of course, on their Instagram at Blue Star Motor Group. Just look for them there. So let's have some fun this morning as we record this on March 9th. And we, of course, jumped on right after the signing and put out an episode as quickly as we could talking about Dak. We're going to get more into that. As I mentioned, Todd Archer will be joining us. We'll take a trip around the block and have a couple of wild stories to get into. But the reality is here, and a lot of you now have made comments, and we'll get into some of those, and we'll have a little powwow about this Dak Prescott deal, because I got to tell you, man, the more that I dig into this and the more that I look at it, the more I actually love this deal. I love this deal.
Okay, well, the deal is 4 years, $160 million. It's actually a 6-year deal that voids to 4.
Right.
Helps the Cowboys on their salary cap. He'll count somewhere around $22 million against the cap next year. $66 million signing bonus, $75 million the first year. I think it's $126 million guaranteed. Mm-hmm. He won on a lot of fronts, bro.
He did. He did win on a lot of fronts. He will make the most money in a single year in NFL history at $75 million being paid out in year one. Here's how this works, though, because this is what people always do. They go, oh, wow, $42 million average. He shouldn't get paid that. You can't win with a quarterback making that much money. Okay. Well, if you believe that, you should love this deal, because guess what? It's not your money, so what do you care? 2, his cap hit, as Jacques just told you, and I think this is extremely important for people to understand this. The cap hit right now in the year of 2021 is $22.2 million. $22.2 million. Let's say the cap is $182 million, which they still don't know. It's going to be, the floor is 180. So it's going to be 182, 183. That's 12.1% of the cap this year. So my question to all you naysayers, again, and I'll ask this till I'm blue in the face, I would love to know if somehow the Cowboys have one of 31 teams that don't win the Super Bowl this year, is it still Dak's fault that he got paid? Because 12%, all of you are like, well, you can't win a quarterback making that much money. Well, you can win with the quarterback making 12%. A ton of people have done it.
Yeah, I mean, people get stuck in their narratives, and some of it is the narrative, and some of it is just their feeling about Dak as a quarterback. And that's cool, because we all know everybody's got an opinion about Dak and just how good or not good that he is. But rest assured, he'd have got way more than this on the open market. So I think the Cowboys, they acquiesced, and I think Dak won on a lot of fronts. But I was reading some stuff, man, and I think it's true, because I don't believe everything I read. But I think this is true. I think the Cowboys also won in their minds, and sometimes that's all that matters. Because what was their goal last year? Their goal was to sign Dak to what, man? A 5-year deal, right?
Right.
They essentially accomplished their goal. They gave him 1 year as a franchise and then signed him to a 4-year deal. Last I checked, even with my Big Ten math, 1 + 4 is 5. And so if you look at it from their perspective, maybe it's a 5-year, $191 million deal. And there were easier ways to get there, but at the bottom line, they got the quarterback that they wanted,
right,
locked up for 5 years and less than a $40 million average.
And once again, I think with this, and this is always my thing, is you look at what is the cap hit going to be, what's the percentage, and it defeats the arguments that many people are having right now. I just told you what it was in 21. His cap hit next year will be $33.2 million. His cap hit in 2023, when the new TV money will already have been here, is $44.2 million. It doesn't matter what the number is. It really doesn't. I mean, honestly, like if the cap is $400 million and they're paying him $70 million, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's all what the percentage of the cap is, and you can restructure and you can do these things. That's why this deal and stretching it out essentially over 6 years is what makes the most sense here, because you hear that number 70. He's making $75 million in 2021. Well, they'll never be able to pay anybody else. It's not how it works, okay? They can spread out the cap hit of all that money over the next few years. So, yeah, Dak gets paid right now. He gets his $75 million, but the Cowboys don't have to put it all in their books as far as, like, for reporting purposes all in 1 year. So, I mean, again, $22.2 million cap hit in 2021. They save, by doing this deal, by paying Dak, they are saving $15 million on the salary cap this year, which we'll see what they do with. Are they going to go sign the big-name defensive free agents? Probably not. Will it matter if they do? We've seen in the past, it doesn't.
No, it gives them flexibility to go sign.
Right.
As we've told y'all, there's somewhere between, shopping at Dollar General and Neiman Marcus. You can go somewhere in between. They've been in the bargain basement bin for the last couple of years. And now maybe they can go get legitimate starters as opposed to guys who are either, I call them spackling. They're just there to temporarily fill a hole. You don't really have great expectations for them.
Right.
But it would be nice to go out and get a solid starter, guy you could count on to come in and contribute at a pretty high level. I'd love to see, everybody's talking about draft a safety. I'd love to see, just go get one that can play.
Right.
That's what I would love to see. And then, spackle in the rest if you need to and hope that your guys come back healthy who've been hurt. But the big thing is they now have the flexibility. Dak is done, and we don't have to revisit this particular topic for another 3 years.
That's true.
Really 2.5 years because, bro, they didn't he's got a no-trade clause, and this is interesting to me. He's got a no-tag clause, but I think because he's just agreed to terms, he hadn't signed it yet,
right,
though he will. But they may have to use the tag just to make sure that all the paperwork is good. But basically, you can't tag him again. So that means 2.5 years into this deal, they got to call Todd France and say, hey, bro, what are you thinking? And Dak will only be 31. And so he's going to get another huge deal before he's done. And when it's all said and done, man, Dak Prescott, because, he's one of the younger guys amongst the guys who've gotten paid. He may end up for a minute being one of the highest earners in NFL history.
He very well might be. He very well is on that type of path to do so. And we'll see if the results can justify the pay. And we'll get into that conversation. What you brought up, yes, Adam Schefter had reported yesterday that they are going to tag him today, Tuesday, because assuming that the tag deadline is today, although now it looks like they haven't decided what the cap is going to be yet, so you can't tag without knowing what the cap is. So there's a good chance, like last year, they pushed the tag deadline back to like right before the start of the league year. There's a good chance they'll push it back a few days. But it sounded like, according to Schefter, that was the plan, to go ahead and tag him that second time while they get all the paperwork walked out like you're talking about, and they'll go through that process. They'll sign the deal, rescind the tag, and that basically eliminates the ability to ever tag him again, which works for him. I also thought it was really interesting because Charles Robinson, who is senior NFL writer, of course, for Yahoo Sports, had some really interesting points, and it kind of echoes what we've had him on the show before. We've talked to him about a variety of deals. David Cantor, the agent, DEC Management.
Right.
David Cantor tweeted out last night, strong point here is, what does Jerry know about the TV deals and money coming? He's obviously intimately involved, and this deal reflects his knowledge and how big the new TV money will be, which makes a lot of sense. I think it's a great point, especially the way that the first 2 years of this contract don't have large cap hits. And then once year 3 comes around, it jumps to 44. And then I think year 4 is like 47, 48. But again, when this new TV money comes in, I mean, the salary cap, we have no idea how much it's going to jump. It literally could be 250, 270, 280, depending on the amount of money that these new TV deals, which are going to shatter every record known to man, come in at.
And I think it's obvious with Jerry and Steven being such a big part of that they understand what the numbers are going to look like. They know how astronomical they're going to be, and I think they plan their the contract around that. We all know they're going to jump because, and you've talked about it quite a bit, they're going to be selling these packages a la carte. Thursday night's going to have a package. Amazon's trying to buy a package. Who else knows who's trying to get in on the NFL? Right. Because it's whatever you pay for it, you'll get your money back plus some. So you just want to be in the game, broadcasting the games. And so, dude, they know what the deal is. They know what the cap is going to be, or they have a good idea of what it's going to be. And as I like to say, man, you can't pay somebody 40 or 50 million unless you're making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times that much.
Right. And they're going to be absolutely fine. And that's the whole point of this thing is for those of you who just look at the cap hit. It doesn't matter all the other money. And I've always thought this is wild anyway. Like, what do you care how much the Cowboys pay him? Like, really? I mean, over the course of time. Now, obviously, if he was going to make $75 million on the cap in 2021, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? But he's not. He's going to make $75 million of money that is none of ours, and it's only going to be a 22.2 cap hit. And you've got to educate yourself on this and what that means and the flexibility that this is going to allow the Cowboys to have in the next couple of years. I get it, man. Trust me. I will be right there with you. Now, I'm not going to be screaming that it's Dak's fault if they don't win a Super Bowl in the next 4 years. But that's the expectation, as we have mentioned many times, it comes with paying a guy. If you're going to get paid as the second highest paid quarterback in the league, if you're going to get paid as one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, the expectation is you're bringing us a championship at some point, putting us in that conversation, making the Final Four, whatever it is. That's why the Houston Texans paid Deshaun Watson. They didn't pay him to go 4-12. They paid him because they believe that's the guy, if we put things around him, that we can win a championship with. And that's what the Cowboys have done here.
No, I think that's what it's all about. I've been one who says this all the time, which is, your job is to make us a contender every year. That's your job when we pay you this kind of money. It's make us a contender every year because it's hard to win, man. I mean, we talk about, your boy Aaron Rodgers being a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he got one Super Bowl appearance. We talk about Drew Brees being the first ballot Hall of Famer. He got one Super Bowl win. And so it's hard to win these things. And so the best thing you can do really is consistently be in the conversation. If you're consistently in the conversation, you hope to win it one year, but you've put your team in a position to win because it's hard to win, man. And sometimes it ain't your fault, dog. I mean, it's just not your fault sometimes. Sometimes you run into... You didn't hear that, did you?
Of course we did. We hear everything you do. But,
I'm sorry.
I'll edit it out.
Sometimes you run into the Michael Jordan factor, or in the NFL case, the Tom Brady factor. You didn't win because a great player stood in your way. Sometimes you don't win because a kicker misses a field goal, Jim Kelly. 4 cracks. Scott Norwood makes a 47-yard field goal. We ain't talking about the Bills being 0-4 in the Super Bowl. So it's not always your fault you didn't win. But if you put your team in a position to win on a consistent basis, I think that's all you can ask for, because I hate to break it to sports fans. You ain't guaranteed no championship. It ain't no birthright. It's not something that's supposed to happen to you. It's really like time and circumstance and a little bit of luck.
Right.
And so we hope you get it, but, that doesn't always happen.
Right. And a couple of things here that I wanted to point out. One, I don't know how many of you that listen, and look, I don't follow any athletes on Twitter unless I have a personal relationship with them. I just don't, because 90 times out of 100, I don't care what athletes are tweeting about. Like Dak's Twitter account is advertising. I mean, he doesn't even run it. It's just stuff to promote his own brand and stuff, which is fine. That's great. It's just not my thing. That being said, I did see a lot of people that had put together almost like collages of other players tweeting about Dak's contract. And you can go through and you look at all the Cowboys that immediately jumped on Twitter and were stoked about this. And I know people will discount this. Jacques and I will just have to disagree with you. They believe, the other players on this team believe they can win with Dak Prescott. And if the Cowboys hadn't figured out how to keep this guy around, I think that would have weighed down in the room. One, they're not going to take care of this guy What are they going to do for us? Why don't they believe in him like we do? And I think it might have caused some frustration because this team, to a man, believes. Now, whether or not they get there, whether or not the other guys are talented enough, they believe Dak can take them there.
That dude is we end up talking about it quite a bit because people just don't seem to get it. Your belief in your guy is half the battle. Because if you don't believe in him, dog, it's just incredibly hard to win. That's why, Tampa Bay won a Super Bowl this year. Largely because they believed Tom Brady could help them win it. And, you have to play, but when you got that belief, dude, it's something that gets you to play at a higher level than you thought possible. I'm going to rewind it just a bit, Matt. Deion Sanders is winning games at Jackson State right now for one reason. Because he doesn't even have his full squad. He's winning because those kids believe if we do everything he tells us to do, no matter how it sounds, if we just do it, we'll win. And then they went out and won a game. And so what does that do? It just reinforces the belief. That's what the best quarterbacks do. You believe if I just do my job, he'll find a way to win the game for us. That's why Brady's successful. That's why Aaron Rodgers is successful. That's why Breeze has been successful. All the best quarterbacks have that trait about them.
Yes, they do. And they believe that Dak has that. I believe that Dak has that.
Let me tell you the flip side, Matt. Because I saw somebody do this last night. And I would just tell you. Somebody put up some stats comparing Kirk Cousins to Dak Prescott and said, see, look at the stats. They're just about the same. And I didn't get into this because, I didn't feel like doing it. But the difference is if you took a quiet poll, it's completely anonymous, nobody will ever know the truth, them cats in Minnesota don't believe Kirk Cousins can take them anywhere. They don't. You can tell that they don't because he's been skittish in all the big games he's played just about. There's a difference, man. When you got that belief, it's a whole different ball game, man.
Yes, it's a very different ball game. I also think that's interesting because why didn't they just pick Deshaun Watson? Because Deshaun Watson's stats are almost identical to Dak's.
Doug.
But they didn't want to do that. See, this is where this gets interesting. But again, we're going to get into some of the comments on Instagram and on our Twitters because this is why I like doing the podcast because we can just pull stuff out and address some of you guys. And I know you can't talk back, but I can at least have a conversation with you in my mind. But, another thing that I find interesting about this that always blows my mind is, okay, let's say, because you'll hear this, Dak's not worth that. Okay, all right, so what is he worth? Oh, I wouldn't pay him more than $30 million. Okay, so you don't want him to pay him $42 million a year. You want to pay him $30 million a year, and you'd be totally cool with that. So by your argument, let's say that if they only paid him $30 million a year, they would have $150 million to spend on everybody else instead of $140 million. So basically what you're saying is that's the difference between, now they can win a Super Bowl and now they'll go 8-8 or whatever you think. Is somewhere along the way that extra $10 million is where the Cowboys hit on somebody else that is so good that they drastically change the makeup of this roster.
And we know what the odds of that happening are. What do you think Stone Cash, if he could stop doing lines in Vegas long enough to get us, would tell us?
Can you see? This is where this argument gets so weird to me. Again, is like Matt Ryan when the Falcons lost the Super Bowl was like 17% of the cap, right? And so did the Falcons, because they paid him 17%, lose the Super Bowl because they didn't spend an extra couple of $1 million on a defender that might have been able to make a play that their current defenders don't have? Well, then you're going down the rabbit hole because you could do that at every position, right? You could say, well, if the Cowboys had actually invested in a defensive tackle instead of using Antoine Woods off the trash heap of another team's roster, and if they had just gotten a defensive tackle for $3 million, man, maybe he would have busted through the line and would have opened up holes for Leighton and Jalen. Oh, wait, well, they would have to be healthy. So then you go down this whole rabbit hole of that. And I don't know where it stops.
Well, that's because there's no end to it. And, we've discussed this, and we looked up some numbers. And I think 4 of the top 6 teams with the best records this year had quarterbacks who are amongst the highest paid in the game. It's the thing about the Super Bowl, man, is there's only one winner. And I looked at it more like who's the best teams. And the best teams seem to have high-paid quarterbacks, man. Because that's what's required, bro.
Right.
Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson on a normal year would have a good team. He's just got a bad front office that gutted their team. And so you have to pay guys a certain wage, man. If you want to compete with the very best, those are just the rules in place.
Pretty much.
And I looked up something, and I looked this up just for Matt and for some of you other guys. But what is Dak counting this year? 12% against the cap this year?
Right, yeah. Roughly.
Pat Mahomes, 13.3%.
Oh, can't win the Super Bowl with him.
Your boy Russell Wilson, 17.6%.
Count him out. Wouldn't take him.
Jared Goff, 14.4%.
Jeez.
Aaron Rodgers, 20.2%.
No.
Kirk Cousins, 16.7%.
Can't do it.
Matt Ryan, 22%.
Falcons will suck.
And then Deshaun Watson, 8.3%.
Well, the one that you didn't do is Carson Wentz, who will be counting an astronomical amount against the Eagles cap, and he's not even playing for them. So, I guess the Eagles are going to go, according to all the reverse arguments that I see of this, the Eagles are going to go 4-12, I guess, at best.
No, they should go to the Super Bowl because Jalen Hurts doesn't count very much against their cap.
Yeah, but Carson Wentz, that's what you got to love about that, man. That dead cap hit the Eagles took for the Wentz deal is fantastic. And this is where it gets interesting. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get into some of these conversations while we have some time before we jump on with Todd Archer. But I wanted to go through some of these comments, and we always post. You should follow us on Instagram. We try to respond to comments every now and again. We can't respond to all of them, of course, but you can find us on Instagram, Jam Session Cast. You can make that happen there. Also, before we get into this, let's tell you about a couple of our sponsors. We've got a lot of great people helping to make what we do here on the podcast possible, which we are always extraordinarily appreciative of. And thank you very much for being a part of what we do. Of course, Beer Geek Shop in downtown Rockwall. We've been telling you about these guys for a long time. Everything at Beer Geek Shop is available in singles. All of it. You can walk into the store. You can order online. Whatever you prefer to do, everything in the store is in singles. You can mix and match it however you want. You can try whatever you like without having to commit to a six-pack. It's a local, family-owned business. Jason and Deidre are a husband and wife that own it. It's right off the square in downtown Rockwall. And don't forget, they still offer the Jam Session six-pack. 3 beers of my choice, 3 beers that Jacques selected, all for $16.99, which is a wild. It's still, every time I say that, I'm like, surely that's fake. But it's real. 6 beers, $16.99. It's Beer Geek Shop, downtown Rockwall. It's a great place.
That's a hell of a deal, man. And this is what I tell folks to do all the time. Because sometimes my boys say, hey, dude, you got this, what about that? Hey, dog, I don't know. They get new stuff in literally all the time.
Yeah.
Check the website out, man. BeerGeeks.com. Check it out, tool around, hang out. They do a terrific job with the website. It'll give you the beer, give you a little bit of info about the beer. And if you don't know what you want, that's a great way to get an idea. And then, like I say, man, just go up there and ask. Hey, I saw some of these. What do you think? I like this kind of flavor, that kind of flavor. I like it a little dank like Matt. I like it a lot more flavorful like JJT. Deidre can hook you up, man.
Yeah, she'll get you taken care of. They know their stuff. So swing by Beer Geeks Shop in downtown Rockwall. Also, of course, don't forget, it's funny, I got an email the other day about this, which I always think is awesome. The wings at Kroger, which we tell you guys about all the time. 2 flavors, mango habanero or buffalo blue cheese, available at most North Texas Kroger locations. We tell you this. There's no breading. It's meat, it's flavor. That's what it is. You can do it however you want. Air fry them, grill them, whatever. So Mark in Plano emails me. Sent me an email with 2 pictures, a before and after of the wings. He goes, here's his email. 1 more wing testimonial for you. I bought the wings from Kroger for the first time on Friday, 2 pounds of the mango habanero. I put them in the oven on a wire rack. no other prep. They came out fantastic, juicy, and full of flavor, just like you and JJT have made them sound. So that's because that's what they are, man.
We don't be making this stuff up. We be telling y'all the truth.
I just thought that was awesome. And I got to be honest with you, Mark. I mean, they look damn good, dude. You did a really nice job. See, he even attached them. He says, I put them in the oven on a wire rack for 60 minutes at 375.
Man, he got patience. I could never leave him in there for an hour.
Yeah, but they look good, dude.
And see, we're not even joking, man. I got a text, a tweet the other day from the guy who put the wings in the air fryer.
Yeah.
And I sent him a text that said, hey, throw a little baking powder on there to get them really crunchy and feeling like they're fried. And he sent me back like, that was the truth, with a couple of exclamation points. So awesome. We telling y'all, man, the wings are legit. I told y'all my dude killed about 2 pounds the other day, man, by himself. So
make it happen. If you haven't done it yet, jump on like Mark and Plano. I mean, we've been telling you about these guys for a long time. Make sure once you try them, they will become a part of your regular Kroger shopping. Yeah. The wings at
Matter
Kroger.
Of fact, they're so good, bro, you don't even have to trade them for P.
You're like, she calls. You're like, no, there's no way this is happening. I'm eating these wings. That's fantastic. All right. Also, of course, HFX Foundation Solutions. If you believe that you may have a foundation problem, and we've kind of told you what to look for, there's a variety of things your home will kind of show you. If you've got cracks in the foundation, if you notice doors are starting to stick, soil washout, if some of the floors have started to slope, those are all signs that you may have a foundation problem. Now, you may not. And this is what HFX Foundation Solutions will do for you. They'll come on out and give you a free inspection. You give them a call, 817-770-0174. Express them, tell them, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and they will schedule you for a free inspection. And come on out, and if you don't have a problem, hey, great. If you do, HFX Foundation Solutions, A-rated with the Better Business Bureau, will be with you throughout the process. Make sure that you're taken care of and get it back to where it needs to be. Don't forget, they also can do your drainage and gutter installations. So, again, tell you this all the time, and I talked to Aaron. Yeah, we exchange emails, and he goes, man, this is really one of those things. And Aaron's the guy that runs all this for HFX Foundation Solutions. He says with foundations, really the key that we want people to know is don't make it to where, hey, I saw on Monday that I might have a problem. You know what? I'll call in a couple of weeks. Like, call that day. Because the earlier that you catch it and the earlier that you get them out to see what's going on, it saves you a lot of pain in the long run. So make sure that if you see those things, you get this taken care of. HFXFoundation.com. So as we move forward here, I'm trying to decide, do you want to get into the comments or do you want to get into the block?
Oh, let's just go roll to the comments, man.
All right, let's roll to the comments then, because there's a couple that we will address here with you, because it's hard to go back and forth all day on Instagram, right? So, like, for instance, and I'm not picking on anybody. Maybe I am. Who knows? I don't mean to. But, for instance, here's a couple of the comments on our Instagram. So you have this BT Raider who commented, so now he's the second highest paid player in the NFL and has yet to win one playoff game. Justify that and spin it how you wish, but he is not worth that contract. No way. So obviously I said, okay, well, since we're ignoring facts, I mean, he does have a playoff win, but why isn't he worth it? Like, I'm trying to get to this. He says, oh, I didn't know he had a playoff win. So that kind of eliminates you from the conversation almost. But then he says, 1 year he went 13-3. What was their record in the other years? Around 500, right? So I point out, by that logic, why did Houston pay Watson? He has one playoff win. He's 28-25 in his career. If you take away Dak's 13-3 season, Dak is 29-24. I mean, again. And then here it comes. Could they perhaps both be overpaid? Are you honestly telling me Dak is the second best player in the NFL? That's not how this works. It doesn't matter if he's the second best player in the NFL.
And he won't be the second highest paid quarterback for more than a year, probably.
I don't know. Honestly, isn't Aaron Donald like the best player in the NFL? I mean, if we're just saying the best player at any position, Aaron Donald might be the overall best player in the NFL. He's not paid like that. You know why? Because he doesn't play quarterback.
I mean, I think, sometimes these arguments like this are just like, you can't be, you just have to understand how the thing works, man. It's no negotiations almost, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking about negotiations for a quarterback, negotiations for a radio show, negotiations for anything. They're all about timing and leverage. If you have the timing and you have the leverage, you get paid. Or when is it you're supposed to buy a new car? At the end of the year?
Right.
At the end of the last week of at the end of the year? That's when you have the timings on your side because they're trying to get rid of the old inventory for the new inventory. And you've got the leverage. So you get a better deal if you can wait that long. So timing and leverage, negotiations are all about it, man. What did I tell y'all my dad said? He said, son, a couple of times in your career, you're going to have the hammer in negotiations. When you get it, swing it hard and deliver a mighty blow. He literally told me that. And so I'm going to be honest with y'all. I've had the hammer twice in my career. Twice. And how long I've been doing this, Matt? Since 1992. One time I got a $25,000 raise. One time I got a $50,000 raise.
Nice.
But it was only because I had to hammer those 2 times.
Right.
And the other time I got like everybody else. 3%, 4%, 2%. We got no raise for you this year. You need to take a pay cut. So that's 2 times in 30 years, Matt, that I had to hammer.
It doesn't happen often. That's very true. And that's where, again, we have said, and like somebody else, I was trying to find who it was that said, I think it was this Jagon on Instagram who had pointed out this whole thing. I like Dak, but that's a bad franchise deal. So I simply ask why. I'm always curious, why do you guys think this? Why is this a bad deal? Why is he not worth it? And he basically just says, kind of along the same lines, that this is one of those things, and again, it's about the cap space, which we pointed out is a myth and doesn't actually make any sense. He says they can't sign anyone on either side of the ball. Again, this actually creates more cap space for them to be able to do so. How much production would fall off from Dak if they instead went for a $20 million a year quarterback is his question. And I said, okay, so you're talking about Andy Dalton being a starter. You're talking about a guy like a Teddy Bridgewater coming in and being a starter. That's the $20 million range, seriously, for a quarterback. So you're telling me you'd rather have those guys?
No, you're absolutely right.
I just don't see it. And, of course, then you get into the argument of, here it is. No, not Dak's fault. This is the Cowboys' fault. You don't pay that price. They were supposed to win the Super Bowl last year, and they still had a losing record before Dak got hurt. They were 2-3 after 5 games. So, yes, they did have a losing record. The offense was putting up historic numbers. So was the defense on the opposite side being absolutely tremendously horrible. So the point being, okay, so if they had paid Dak whatever it is, which they did last year, he actually took up more of the cap than he's going to this year with his new deal. So it's Dak's fault they were 2-3. We already went through those numbers. The offense was doing what they were supposed to do.
Well, I mean, at one level they were. At another level, they found themselves behind because they were committing turnovers at a historic rate. Primarily with fumbles, which is very odd. Most of the time it's interceptions. And the star running back for the first time in his professional and since he's been playing football, really couldn't hold on to the ball. That seems to me to be an outlier, and I wouldn't expect that to happen again. But the offense put up numbers, they scored points, but they were also part of the reason that they were losing because their turnovers were just, for a while they were on a historic pace.
Sure.
But that being said, you see what the offense can do. I mean, the reality is they were also playing without their 2 tackles, and their offensive line was a joke most of the year because of the injuries. But skill possession people, man, I'm just going to tell you, they can go with just about anybody in the league. With those receivers, if Blake Jarwin can come back and be the down the field threat that he was looking like he was before he got hurt. With Dalton Schultz, yes, I said it, me who has crushed Dalton Schultz for much of his career.
Right.
But that dude had a hell of a year last year. if he can be that guy, he won't catch as many balls because Jarwin's back. But if he can be that guy where he catches 35, 40 passes, at 10 yards a pop, and then Zeke can get back to holding on to the ball, dude, their offense should be one of the top 3 in the league. Not even top 5. They should be one of the top 3 in the league. And then maybe they can start to play the way that they wanted to play last year, which was put pressure on people with our offense,
right?
Force you to then get out of your comfort zone, and then we bury you under an offensive avalanche. Now, they very rarely did that last year, but I think that's what they want to get to.
And then you had a couple, of course, and I always find these amusing as well. A piece of Evan who commented, I know y'all have been waiting for this moment, but $40 million, 120 in the first 3. Jerry's heart won the battle over his sense again. Hello, 9-7. And then Into the Blur commented, that's a lot of money to go 8-8. Which, look, okay, sure, this is a team that in the last couple of years, okay, that's what they've put up. But I don't, again, you have to look at the way that this deal lays out and exactly where it's going to hit, when it hits. It's much like the Pat Mahomes deal. Pat Mahomes is not getting $45 million a year on the cap every single year. It kind of lays out over the years, which is why they wanted to sign a longer deal, which is why they wanted to do the 6-year deal with the voidable years, because they can spread it out more, which lowers the cap hit this year when the cap is going to be down and it's not as bad next year. They have plenty of flexibility. They are paying Dak Prescott cap percentage-wise a lot less than other teams are paying their guys.
And I think that will that'll help. A lot of people, I saw it yesterday, and it'll continue for the next couple of days, people slamming Mahomes' deal and the deal that Lee Steinberg did for him. And the one thing that people almost never think about, Matt, is this. Now, these are outlier deals because everybody doesn't want to roll like this.
Right.
Your deal, in a lot of cases, or let me put it like this. In Pat Mahomes' deal, I literally think Pat Mahomes said, we've won a Super Bowl in Kansas City. We got a great organization. We got a great team. I love the head coach. I love, Tyreek and the weapons around me. I think I can be good making $45 million a year. For me, personally, I think I can be good with $45 million a year. I don't need to keep up with what everybody else is making. I can be good with $45 million. And so, yeah, Lee, sign it long term. That gives us some flexibility, and I'm good at 45. Who does that remind you of, Matt? Reminds me of Tyron Smith. He signed a 10-year, $100 million deal, and people are like, what an idiot. How could you lock up for 10 years? Because for Tyron Smith, it was, you know what, man? I can live off of $10 million a year. I think I'm good off of that.
Right.
I like the team. I like the city. I like the lifestyle. $10 million a year, I don't ever have to worry about being a salary cap casualty. I'm going to get my cash. I'm probably going to get it all. I'm good with that. Everybody does not have an internal drive to make every single solitary dollar. Some people are good with, I just got enough. Like a lot of people. Now let's take it down to the quote common man, Matt. A lot of people like, man, I wish I could be a millionaire. I wish I could make, $2 or $3 million a year. Can I tell you honestly, Matt? I ain't never wished that. I took a look at my lifestyle. Now, this would be a lot of money to some people. I took a look at my lifestyle and what I thought was realistic for me at a certain point in my career. And I said to myself, if I can get to like 400 or 500, I'm straight. Because that's really all my lifestyle. That would be more than my lifestyle requires. Now, I'll take some millions if you want to give them to me.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I don't have to make that. For me, in my world, for what I like to do, I'd be perfectly fine with $400,000 or $500,000 a year. Now, I can tell y'all, I bet Matt would say, if he sat there and said, realistically, I'll take the millions if you give them to me. But Matt would probably say, if I can make a couple hundred for what I like to do, I'd be beyond fine. Because Matt don't really like to do much but run up stats on Madden and go to breweries. And for that, a couple $100,000, you can roll. And he'd like to take a trip to see some of his sports bucket list. And for a couple $100,000 a year, he could do that. Because Matt is not a dude driven by material stuff. I almost said shit. I like more material shit than Matt likes.
That's true.
But Matt ain't driven by that. So if he made a couple hundred, he's straight because his lifestyle doesn't really require much. Ask him what he does every weekend. Hang out at breweries and try flights.
Pretty much.
And play trivia. I mean, and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
None of that requires a bunch of money.
That's very true. It doesn't. I would be happy with a lot less than most people probably. That's very true.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But everybody's different.
The security of that would go a long way for me versus trying to get richer. I would be more likely to do the Pat Mahomes thing because of the reality of knowing that I've got 10 years of security coming.
Right.
Versus 4 years of security would go a long way for me.
And here's the other thing. Some people don't like the process. So if I can get this money, I don't have to deal with this process anymore.
Right.
I'm straight.
Yeah, it's everybody is different. Everybody is different. Now,
here's the thing, though, Matt. Everybody's different, but so many folks want everybody to think like us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Think like me. How come you don't want to do what I want to do?
Of course. That's the way it's supposed to be. Dak would take less money if he really wanted to win. Because apparently if you take less money, then the Cowboys can put a team around you, even though and that's the one thing I cannot emphasize enough that I hope you'll go back and comment again on our Instagram or tweet at us and try and understand. This is about 12.5% of the salary cap this year. And my question that I put out on Twitter this morning was, knowing that, which the argument has always been, if they pay them that much, they're never going to win. Quarterbacks don't win when they get paid that much. You can't put a team around them. He's only taking up 12.5% of the cap this year. So if they don't win the Super Bowl, is it still Dak's fault? And, of course, a lot of people comment on this. One guy, and again, Aaron says, my question is, will they be able to put a team around him with that salary? I'm questioning that. Okay, again, the big money of this is going to be as the cap goes up, his contract goes up. That's why they didn't want to tag him. They didn't want to pay him $37, $38 million this year. They wanted to pay him $22.2, which is what's going to cap it.
Now, I got a couple comments last night, and see, Matt's got the ones that drive him crazy. These are the ones that drive me crazy.
All right.
This is from my man at RP Texan. In 2019, the boys weren't going anywhere until they traded for Amari. Dak didn't put the team on his shoulders. In the 6 games Zeke was out in 2017, Dak didn't elevate the team. The first 3 losses weren't all because Tyron was out. Doesn't matter. Dak got his money. Everybody knew he would. But for $40 million, can he elevate the team? And so my response to that was 2 responses. Number one is, why are we talking about 2017 and 2018 and 2021? That's a long time in the NFL. Like, I haven't done the math. I haven't done the roster look, but I bet you from the 2017 team, Matt, there's probably only like 14 guys left.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, the conversation doesn't matter because in the NFL, the rosters turn over so much. The second part that I answered, because I felt he deserved 2 answers, is, so you mean he needed other people to help him be good? And I said, you mean like in 2014 when the Cowboys went 12-4 and Dez led the league in touchdowns and DeMarco Murray had 1,845 yards and set a franchise record with Tony Romo at quarterback?
Right.
Or how about with Aikman, who only played with Hall of Famers Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith, had one of the best fullbacks in NFL history, and a freaking offensive line that they did a NFL thing on NFL Films for, called it the Great Wall. Like, Aikman didn't have any help? What about Terry Bradshaw, man?
Right.
Franco Harris, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, and one of the best defenses in NFL history. And then I go, and I always do this, man. So, everybody needs help, except, wait a minute, Tom Brady didn't have a lot of offensive weapons. Drew Brees has had a fairly anonymous cast of players. Aaron Rodgers' receivers have been fairly anonymous. All 3 of them cats are first ballot Hall of Famers, bro.
Right.
Has anybody ever said, and maybe they have, I'm serious, maybe they have, I haven't heard it. Has anybody ever said Dak Prescott is destined or is on a track to be a first ballot Hall of Fame player?
Not that I'm aware of, because I don't think that.
Has anybody, and again, I may have missed it, has anybody ever said Dak is a Hall of Fame player.
I would hope not.
I don't think anybody said that. So why are you asking him? You looking down at him because he's not doing what Hall of Fame players have done. That's the part I don't get. Nobody ever said that about Dak. The most things people have said is he's a really outstanding quarterback with terrific leadership skills, and let's see what he can do. And he's moved into like the top 10 of NFL quarterbacks, whether you think he's closer to 1 or whether you think he's closer to 10. He's in the top 10.
Yeah. And man, there's a lot of quarterbacks that have rings that nobody would even allow to sniff the Hall of Fame. And the only one that probably isn't a Hall of Famer that's going to get in because he has 2 rings is Eli Manning. And reality of it is, if you believe you can win with Dak, and I don't know how many times I have to say this, I believe they can. Some of you that listen don't, and that's fine. I have no problem. You don't believe that. We'll just disagree, as I've said many times, and nobody knows if we're right. You can't tweet at me at the end of 2021 if they don't win the Super Bowl. I told you. No. Is he still playing? Is he still the quarterback? Yes. So nobody's going to know if we're right. Now, we may get to 2022, 2023. If they win a Super Bowl, then I'll be right before you. But as long as he is still playing and is still the quarterback of this team, we won't know who is right until his career is over or he is done with the Dallas Cowboys. And then you can look at it and say, okay, I told you that they couldn't win a Super Bowl with this guy. And if they don't, whenever that is, I'll be like, you know what? You were right. I believed they could, and I was wrong because they didn't. But right now, I believe they can. I don't know if they will, but I believe they can because I think Dak has what it takes. I disagree with that guy that he doesn't elevate the team. He has whatever it is, several game-winning drives in his career. He's had several fourth-quarter comebacks to a man. And again, and we already said this on the podcast today, but again, everybody in that room believes they can win with Dak. Every single one of them.
And that's a huge deal, man. So, yeah, Dak Prescott, he's done, and I'm looking forward to it, man, because it's interesting. He got this 4-year deal, and that's just about, to me, that's just about the expiration date on this particular core of players. Because think about Zeke 4 years from now. He'll be with some other team. Think about Amari Cooper 4 years from now. He'll probably be on some other team. Think about Tank Lawrence 4 years from now. He'll be a situational pass rusher, probably. Mm-hmm. Maybe in Dallas, maybe somewhere else. You know, the core of this team, the guys you think about, identify with, I don't think they'll be here in 4 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no doubt. But Tyron Smith will have been retired. Yeah. We already know Travis Frederick is gone. Zach Martin, the other stalwart of that offensive line, will he be retired? If not, he'll be, 34?
He might be older than that. He might be like 35, but he will have been like 12, 13 years in the league.
Yeah. And so to your point, you look at these guys where you have to realize, hopefully like Lyle Collins can come back, but keep in mind he will be 31-ish, 32 in 4 years. So you have all these guys that right now, I mean, this is the window. This is when
that's really what I'm getting to.
Right.
If he's going to win that championship.
With this group, yes, yeah.
With this group, it's probably going to be in the next 3 years. And that seems really far-fetched based on what we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, and who knows is the answer. We have seen this so many times. I know that I'm not that delusional to say and believe that the Cowboys magically go from 6-10 to a Super Bowl contender and magically go from a historically just trash shit defense to a even average defense that you can win with. But we've seen this happen before. We've seen teams that had a really bad year that all of a sudden turned the script around and had a run and did something the very next year. It happens. I'm not going to believe that they can do it until they show me that they can. But, and we'll go through this at some point with all these what ifs that you always do. How many what ifs do they have? Last year they had a bunch, and all of them turned out pretty much poorly for them. But the offense with a healthy Dak, you have to believe in that based on what we saw last year. The defense, they can't possibly be worse, right? I mean, surely not. Dan Quinn is supposed to come in and at least make it somewhat better. Hopefully you can pull a star out of the draft with the 10th overall pick and you can shore up your secondary a little bit because Dak signed this deal. You now actually have more money to invest if you want to in your defense to try and fill some holes. Will they hit on the guy? Will they sign the Gerald McCoy who comes in and doesn't get hurt in training camp? Will they sign in? I don't know, man. Part of it is a bargain basement shop, and we're all shocked when these bargain basement. It's like, oh my God, look at this DVD. I got it at Walmart for $2. Holy crap, this movie sucks. That's why it was $2.
Right.
So I don't know what the answer is going to be with a lot of these, but it's going to be interesting to find out how they're able to use the extra money and how they're able to navigate this. Because I will say this, they are in the NFC East. And if there is any division where you can go from 6-10 to 10-6 and win the division and get a home playoff game, it's this one.
And they're also playing, I think they got the AFC West this year. Denver, the Chargers, and the Raiders. Those are all winnable games. You know, you would think you would lose to the Chiefs. The other three, the possibility of winning is there right off the top of your head as you enter the season. And so, the opportunity is there, man. They got to play good, and they got to have some better injury luck than they had last year. But the opportunity is there for a turnaround. And if you live on that optimistic street where I rarely go, you could see ways for them to win, 10, 11 games next year if you were to be of that mindset.
Oh, one day I'll go delusional on you and convince you of how it can be done. Don't worry. But that is not today because we need to get into our conversation with Todd Archer. Speaking of that, it is time, as we do each and every week, brought to you by BlueStarMotorGroup.com. Let's check in with ESPN Cowboys insider Todd Archer. And I guess my first question for you is, do you actually work for the Cowboys front office? And your article a couple of weeks ago was just leaking how this might go down.
Okay, hold on. That can't be the first question.
What? I'm sorry, Jacques. You guys are way better. What is the first question?
I think it should be a statement. It's not even a question. The statement should be. Go ahead, Doc.
The first question should be, are you tired from taking your victory lap from yesterday?
You guys know me well enough. I'm not a dude who's going to pound his chest and say, look at me on Twitter like so many other media folks around this country do. But I did enjoy putting the Michael Jordan security guard photo on Twitter last night. I thought that might be as close as I've ever come to taking a victory lap. So.
I think it's without doubt the closest Archers ever come to taking a victory lap. That's why I saw it and started laughing.
To get to the first question, which I thought was still a good question, Matt.
Thanks.
I don't work for the franchise. I won't work for the franchise. At least I don't think I will. Never rule anything out. But no one in the organization floated that possibility to me. And as we discussed like a couple weeks ago on the podcast when we first started talking about it, I just got tired of seeing, well, they want 4 and they want 5. And I'm like, well, what can break this logjam and get something done? Talked to a couple agents that I've known for a long time and floated the idea, and they're like, yeah, that actually kind of works. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to write it. And then once I wrote it, I sent it to some people. I talked to some people at the Cowboys, and they're like, you might be onto something. So that tells me they were on that path well before I was even discussing it. But, hey, it got the deal done. And, now we don't have to talk about this thing now for 36 months? We can just go about
yeah.
Go about how this team won't win a Super Bowl in the next 3-4 years.
You're exactly right. I said in year 3, the conversation will have to start again because they can't tag him, and they're going to have to get it done in regular negotiating windows. Now, here's another question. Are we willing to say that this was all part of the Cowboys' master plan to get Dak to a 5-year deal? And they essentially did it by franchising him 1, signing him to 4, and they get to tell them, even if they say it only within their circles, that yes, We got everybody. We got the 5-year deal that we wanted.
That's how they'll spin it right now, that they get the 5-year deal and it averages 38.25, which is less than what Deshaun Watson got. But if we're being truthful, they wanted to get this thing done in 2019. And they thought it was close to being done when Jerry told us after week 2 or 3, whenever it was, that this thing was imminent. So they thought it was done. I've always disliked or not taken much credibility to the people who say they could have got this done 2 years ago. They tried. They gave him the Carson Wentz and Jared Goff deal. Now, it wasn't a 4-year extension. It was a 5-year deal. So it was a 5-year extension. It would have been over 6 years, and Dak didn't want that. But they gave him a deal that averaged like $32.5 million and had almost $90 million guaranteed 2 years ago. Like, they've been trying to pay him. Dak deserves a ton of credit, and by extension, Todd France's agent, by just waiting it out and being patient and playing and using the system to his advantage. Now, I don't think you're going to see a whole bunch of other players all of a sudden, well, we can just wait now, and I'll get everything I wanted the way Dak did. Because I think for quarterbacks, everything is different. You're not going to help me out with there's not going to be a defensive end that's going to say, well, I'm just going to, tag me for 2 years. How did that work out for Anthony Spencer? It worked out pretty well. He got hurt and made $19 million over 2 seasons a few years ago,
right,
but he never cashed in on the long-term deal. So I think this was just a one-off with Dak and the position he played and the unbelievable patience he was able to have by being able to stare at $100 million guaranteed last July and say, nah, I'm good. And he got an extra $26 million. Now we're quibbling over millions, right? I mean, what's the difference between 100 and 126? I'd like to find out what the difference between 100 million and 126 million is.
No doubt.
That would be good. Okay, by my book.
Well, I did wake up this morning thinking there's nothing he can buy today that he couldn't have bought yesterday.
Probably so. He might be able to, instead of renting a jet, he might be able to buy the jet now.
Right? Could be a tax write-off. Could be the kind of tax write-off he needs.
So that might be something. Maybe you could buy an island if you wanted to.
Yeah, but I think the main thing, like, I go deeper than that, or I try to. Did you see the picture that his brother tweeted out of the embrace he had?
Yeah.
Now, see, I saw that, and I didn't see money anywhere in that embrace. I saw love, and I saw relief, and I bet he shed some tears for Jace, who died in April. And I bet he shed some tears about, man, I wish my mom was here to see this. And I think I saw, relief. I didn't see money anywhere in that hug. What did you see in it?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. And I don't think, look, we can act like we know these guys, right? But we really don't truly
As I like
know
to
them
say,
the way we.
You only know 1 or 2 guys on the team the way you know other people.
Right, like the way we know each other is different than the way we're going to know Dak, and especially this past season. Look, we've not talked to him since October, but just before the Giants game. And when we do talk to him, it's in a locker room setting, and there's people around most of the time, and it's hard to get to know the guy. But everything that everybody tells you about Dak and what we've witnessed from Dak and heard from Dak tells you that, yeah, it's great that he's got this contract and it's life-changing and affirming and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that picture was about the journey that they've taken. And you've mentioned it, losing his mother while he was in college, not getting drafted where he wanted to or expected to get drafted, waiting to pick 135 to be picked by the Cowboys, the tragic death of his brother. I think all of that was just about the journey, and that's where that photo of my self-belief in me won out, and now I am reaping a reward, and man, I wish everybody that has affected me, touched my life, was still here with me so we could all have this hug. Ooh, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I bring it out of people, man. I bring it out of you.
That's a lot. Now, it will go, as we all know, and Jacques and I have talked about this, and you had your article out on ESPN.com, Todd, and talking about this changes the expectations because he goes from the feel-good story, this whole, even on the tag last year, well, man, that's really a fourth-round pick, and look at this and all that. When you get paid like this and you're the second highest paid quarterback, at least for the year, until, Josh Allen or whoever it is next year surpasses him, it's one of those things, the expectations will completely change from what everybody is going to, I guess, put as, okay, you're getting paid this. This is now what we believe you're going to deliver to us.
Yeah, if you're the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, you better do what the top paid quarterback in the NFL has done. That's take his team to a AFC championship, win a Super Bowl, and get back to a Super Bowl in the last 3 years. That's fair or not. Those are the expectations now. And I think that was starting to change. Like the feel-good thing kind of ran out, I think, after his rookie deal expired because then it became the franchise tag and how much money is he going to get and the contract. But, yeah, now, how could it not be anything but win a Super Bowl?
Right.
And look, there's always expectations for the Cowboys starting quarterback, whether it's Dak as a rookie, Dak in year 3, Romo as his first-year starter in 2006 coming in. Like, all of a sudden, if you play well, it's like, all right, well, you better do what Staubach and Aikman did. And now that gets ratcheted up because of the price tag. It's only natural in the way it goes. And now it's incumbent on him to play extremely well and for this offense to put up a boatload of points and do what we think it can do, provided there's health and those things. But now it's also incumbent on Jerry and Stephen and Will McClay to aid that defense. And, oh, by the way, it's now incumbent on the head coach to do what you were supposed to do when you were hired. Now the pressure flips to Mike McCarthy. He's got his guy. He's here. He's the quarterback. You went 6-10 last year. You can't do that again this year. It's on you now.
No, very, very true. I like that. That's a
wow.
The wow came from the forcefulness with which it was said. Like, hey man, get your shit together. It's time to do this thing. That's really what he said.
Jock, he's back.
Yep, there he is.
So I'm looking forward to that. Now, what do you say? Because Matt and I have this conversation all the time, and I think people will benefit from hearing your opinion on this. We said, I think this guy, RP Texan on Twitter hit me last night and said, basically, Dak is okay, but he doesn't elevate other people. That's why he doesn't deserve to get paid. He needs good players around him to be a good player, to be a good quarterback. So, what's your thoughts on those types of comments?
Well, remind me of all the good players that Tom Brady had around him last year in Tampa. They seem to be pretty good. And despite what everybody thinks, he had some really good players around him in New England for all those years. And the last time this team was winning Super Bowls, Troy Aikman had some pretty good players around him, I think, right? At least, we got four other Hall of Famers, a Ring of Honor safety that should be in the Hall of Fame, and some really good defensive pieces. So, good. You need good players around you, and to elevate those good players. Now, the one time we saw Dak without good players, at least at the receiver position, was in his second season when they tried to replace Dez with a committee approach with Alan Hearns and Deontay Thompson and Cole Beasley. I don't mean to throw Cole into that because Cole is a really good player, but remind me of the other guy, Bryce Butler. He didn't raise those guys, but I don't know who would have raised those guys.
Jesus couldn't have raised those guys.
Right. So you're in a little bit of a, but it's been a long time since, and I guess maybe in calendar months, if not games, then he's had those guys, because now it's Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, one of probably the 1, 2, 3 best trios in the league. So, and he's got Zeke, he's got Pollard. So there are good players around him. But again, this offense, they better be scoring 30 points a game on the regular and not going 41 week and 20 the other to get your 30. It's got to be 30, 32, 34, 28, 35. It's got to be in that every week. And this defense, while they don't have to be the 85 Bears, just be the 2014 Cowboys. Just be that good.
I feel you on that. I think, and me and Matt were just kicking it around. They got, if they can get healthy offensive line play. Notice I didn't say great offensive line play. I just said healthy. If they're healthy, they'll be good enough. But, they got plenty of weapons, man, and plenty of stuff they can do on offense because, even a guy like Dalton Knox, who to me had always been Dalton Schultz.
Yes.
Dalton Knox is up in Buffalo.
Dalton
Schultz. Yeah, you know what I mean. I was
talking to his dad the other day because he got Buffalo Bills in the ring.
He was never did anything. I think he had 12 catches his first 2 or 3 years. Well, if he can just be that guy that he was last year when they need him to be, and Jarwin can attack the seam, and you got Pollard out there, that's a lot of things for a defense to try to take away, man. And if they'll not turn the ball over, they're going to be hard to stop.
Right. And I mean, you'll put this offense as what we think it can be, on par with what they did in 2014, what they did at 2016, and kind of what they were doing at the start of last season, although some of that was based on how bad the defense was. I don't think Dak was going to end up throwing for 6,000 yards last year if he played the entire season. So there's a lot that they can do in this offense. Hey, I put it on McCarthy. Well, it's on Kellen Moore, too. The one thing I will quibble with, and not to be a party pooper, I think Dalton Schultz's numbers was like someone has to score 20 points in a bad NBA team a game, right? I mean, so I think Schultz got a product of his catches was someone had to make those grabs. I don't know if you're going to look, if he catches 30 balls this year, it's going to be half of what he caught last season. I don't know if that's the right number for him either, because that might mean Jarwin's not as effective. And that means the receivers aren't as effective. So, I
just mean it in the sense of if you throw him the ball, now you believe he can catch it. Before last year, I was like, maybe he can catch it.
Expectations of a pro athlete.
Hey, man.
Right? The other thing with this deal that I think, and this is something that the naysayers always like to point out, you can't win with the quarterback making that kind of money. And the way that this thing is structured, like you had pointed out in your original article with the voidable years, it allows them to move some things around to where his cap hit this year is probably 12.5%. It's only going to jump up a little bit more, like 33, I think, on the cap next year. And really, when it starts to hit at 44 and 47, the new TV money will be here, and who knows what the cap will be by then. But point being, at least in 2021, his cap number is not outrageous, despite the fact that, yes, he's going to make $75 million.
Right. And I think that's where, like when I did my fictitious 6-year deal, I had it as a $50 million sign-in bonus and maybe a $15 million base salary or something like that. What they just did was put more in the bonus and less in the base to help with that the first couple of years against the cap. And I think that's the Cowboys win in this thing. As we talked about a few weeks ago, is you get some cap flexibility for sure this year. Now, they're still going to have to move some money around to get under whatever the cap is going to be, 180, 185, somewhere in between, whatever it's going to be. But it's certainly much better to need just to get $4 or $5 million to get under the cap than it would be if you add another 16, 17, 18 million under the cap. Everybody always says, like, whoa, they can just go redo this guy and redo that guy and get all this money. Blah, blah, blah. You don't really want to do that unless you have to. And now the Cowboys can really just flip one contract, get under the cap, and then kind of do it as they go when they look to free agency to fill some holes on their roster. But for anybody to think like they're going to go out and get the best defensive tackle, the best safety, or the best corner, or the best whatever here in free agency, that ain't happening. They're not doing that. This is still going to be about plugging holes and maybe shopping in the middle of the market to below, not the top of the market.
I don't mind if they would shop in the middle of the market. Just typically, they shop in the bargain basement bin.
Right.
Last year, we thought they shopped in the middle of the market with the guys that they signed. Right? There was. I don't think anybody said, I can't believe they signed. When they signed him, no one was saying, oh gosh, why are they signing Don Terry Poe? I think everybody said, oh, that's a pretty good signing. He had a pretty good year in Carolina. Yeah, they need a big run plugging guy. Hiring Clinton Dix. Man, they haven't had a safety in a while. Well, he knows McCarthy. That's going to work out well. Oh, Gerald McCoy. Yeah, he had 5 sacks in Carolina. He's a long-running Pro Bowler down there in Tampa. He's a good player. He tears his quadriceps in the first training camp practice. Clinton Dix doesn't make the team out of training camp. Poe was bad the entire time. Darryl Worley didn't make it out of the full season. He was cut. Everson Griffin was traded. So, and again, when they signed Everson Griffin, what was everybody saying? Man, what a logical signing. Great job, Jerry. Great job, Cowboys. Look at how they filled all these holes in the defense. And then the season started, and not their best free agent signing was Greg Zuerlein.
Yeah, I think my question, and I'm not going to say I was like, oh, these guys stink. My question about all the guys they signed, except maybe Everson Griffin, was just what you just said. I said the only problem with all these guys is all of them got a question about them. Even, Alden Smith, all of them got a question about him. And so probably half of those questions will be answered positively, and half of those guys the question will be answered negatively. I didn't expect all of them to be answered negatively.
Right. The second best signing was probably, I guess you can throw Alden Smith in there too, but was probably Blake Bell, the backup tight end. But that's just about everybody in free agency has a question to them, right?
Which is why they're in free agency.
Right.
Sure. So now there's going to be some guys that hit the market that for whatever reason, the team couldn't put the tag on him again or didn't, like Joe Tooney up in New England is going to be on the market. And I had somebody on Twitter ask me, should they go get him? Like, he's going to get a deal that's on par with Zach Martin or better. So no, they're not getting him. Like, forget those guys. Forget that. That's not where it's going to be. Like, there's probably less of a question on Tooney than some of these other guys that are going to be out there. But everybody they're going to sign is going to be, I hope that he reverts to that form, or maybe he's a player on the come, or one of those things. It's not going to be like this Shangri-La of here's the magical player that everybody needed in free agency, and the Dallas Football Cowboys got him.
Well, let me ask you about this guy, because we haven't talked about him in a minute. Earl Thomas.
Oh, gosh.
What?
I mean, he should come cheap this year. He sat out basically all of last year.
God.
Maybe he's been humbled.
He's the answer, I heard, right? Like, you sign him, you're Super Bowl champs.
No, that was a couple
years
ago.
We just dealt with the interminable Dak negotiations. Now you want to go back to the interminable Earl Thomas to the Cowboys stuff?
Hey, man, we got one problem solved. On to the next one.
Look, okay, and this goes to what you just said. All of the questions about, him coming in. He's not played in a while. It's not that the Cowboys weren't the only. So Seattle and Baltimore weren't going to sign him, and the Cowboys didn't. There's 29 other teams that didn't sign him either. Like, it's not like the Cowboys are only people seeing something that they say, maybe you want to stay away from that guy. And I don't think a year away. And I know Dan Quinn coached him in, at least I think he did, in Seattle for a year before moving on, or year or two, whatever. So
that's why I brought it up.
I don't see it. I don't see it. Let me put it that way. I don't see that happening. I think that door's been closed. And the caveat being, if he wants to come on the minimum salary benefit contract, sure, I'll take that kind of chance on everybody.
Fair enough. We'll see how it plays out. Todd Archer, as always, man, thanks for the conversation. We appreciate it.
Thank God this thing's done.
For real, for all of us. All right, man. Talk to you later.
Hi, bro.
All right, there he is, the great Todd Archer, ESPN Cowboys insider, as always. Brought to you by Blue Star Motor Group. Make sure you check those guys out. Local, family-owned at bluestarmotorgroup.com. Also, you can follow them on Instagram, see their entire inventory and their customer reviews, and just check them out, bluestarmotorgroup.com. Also, of course, some of our other fantastic sponsors that make this a possibility. RX3 Resources. What are your What are your oral minerals worth? What are your oil and gas minerals really worth? I have no idea. I don't know anything about this. That's why you need the team at RX3 Resources. You give them a call, and their highly qualified team can help you out. They use the latest appraisal data and ensure that your selling process is made quick and simple. So give them a call, 214-708-9111. I mean, I wouldn't call them for your oral minerals, but definitely your oil and gas minerals.
Hey, who doesn't want to be like the Beverly Hillbillies, man?
For real.
You know? And if you don't know what those are, they were just digging around the backyard and found gold. Black gold. Texas Creed.
That's right. They did.
Yeah, they did. So
and they
maybe
moved out to Beverly Hills.
There you go. Maybe that can be you. But give them a call. Let them see what your soil's bringing. Maybe you're sitting on a gold mine. I told you. That happened to the lovely Lorraine's friend. He had some minerals in his backyard, some land that he bought. Now he got a fat check, and he gets a fat check every month from a company.
Yeah, and that's where RX3 Resources comes in. Again, a fair and true evaluation. Our friends at RX3 Resources, another local family-owned business, man. So check them out. Give them a call. If you're in that world, they will help you out. 214-708-9111. And, of course, False Idol Brewing, our buddies over in North Richland Hills, one of the very best, one of my top three in North Texas craft breweries. They might be my very favorite. But False Idol Brewing, man, they are pumping out some fantastic beers. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. If you ever have free time during the week, swing by between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. They do $4 off flights. On Wednesday, if you get a chance, maybe swing by after work if you want. They do $2 off full pours on Wednesdays all day long. And then, of course, I host trivia out there on Thursday evening as well. Fantastic place right off of Boulevard 26 in North Richland Hills. They've got a new IPA that's being tapped this week called When Particles Collide that is brewed with Brew One and Citra hops, double dry hopped hazy. They've got a Blueberry Crumble Berliner Weiss that's going to be releasing this week. They got a couple of new stouts on. They are a fantastic local family owned, another one, local brewery right there in North Richland Hills. Absolutely love these guys, man. They're really good people, a couple of really good buddies of mine, and they are putting out some really, really elite level beer in this area. So if you haven't tried them, if you're into craft beer, if you're curious to try some really damn good beer, False Idol Brewing, North Richland Hills. Do it. Now let's take a quick trip around the block, all right? We got to get into something that's not Dak today. I know. You're all like, wait, what? But I came across a couple of things. One, this is interesting. Anytime we see a new food establishment that I've never heard of before that is launching for the first time ever in North Texas, I don't know why, but it always piques my interest. And so, for the first time ever, expanding out of New York.
Oh.
And this will be their first location outside of New York in the country. It is a Korean chicken establishment that is called Mad for Chicken. And they are opening 2 restaurants in North Texas, one in Flower Mound, one in McKinney this spring. And apparently they're known for their soy garlic fried chicken.
Soy garlic fried chicken.
And they do other Korean-inspired dishes, but that's like their signature thing.
I wonder if I can make that in an air fryer.
See, I wonder that too when I hear stuff like this, because they do a variety of chicken dishes, wings, sandwiches, kimchi fries, and quesadillas, sweet potato fries, bulgogi bowls. I don't even know what that is.
Bulgogi bowls.
It could be bulgogi bowls. Bulgogi bowls. So I don't know, but it sounds, because we were talking about when we were on the radio, there was another like Korean chicken place that was brand new to the area that everybody was like stoked about, and there were going to be lines for forever. And apparently this is one that was founded in Flushing in Queens, up in the New York City area, obviously. And this will be, I just found that really interesting that you're expanding outside of New York for the first time, not by going to like Connecticut or Massachusetts or something. You're coming to Texas.
I wonder why. I mean, I think it's because the economy is good here. Mm-hmm. Texas is also home to lots of transplants, be they from the East Coast, be they from or the West Coast. This is turning into a melting pot kind of place. In part because the economy is so good and so many companies and corporations are moving here. And I think that plays a role in it, man, because you want to go somewhere where people have income and can spend some money.
Yeah, and the interest.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the other thing about it's not like this is like a massive chain, right? There's only 5 locations at all in the New York area. So I'm curious. And this is one of those things that, I'm not going to just go out of my way to go to Flower Mound or McKinney, but if I happen to be up in that area, which I am from time to time, then I might be like, hey, we should go check out that Mad for Chicken place.
Here's what we should do, man. Here's what we should do. We should Cash App Archer like $15 because he lives in Flower Mound. And when they open, say, dude, go pick up 2 or 3 things. And when in between our cowboy conversation, sample it and tell us if it's worthy of us going out there.
That's probably a good idea. And then that way we will know. I don't know why it is, but Flower Mound is one of those suburbs I completely forget about.
Yeah. I don't think I've been to Flower Mound except maybe once.
I mean, I know exactly where it is. It's right there on the other side of Grapevine Lake. It's not like it's crazy far from me, really. I mean, you know what? That might not be excessively far because I can get to Coppell and I can get to Grapevine in like 15 minutes. And so, Flower Mound's probably 25 minutes, I would guess.
Now, here's a random fact. Flower Mound used to be the home of the Cowboys beat writers because Archer lived out there, Rick Gosselin lived out there, and Ed Werder lived out there.
Yeah, and so then like Flower Mound is relatively large. Like it depends on, is this in North Flower Mound where I'm basically getting into like Highland Village and up there by Lantana and whatnot, or is it closer to the Grapevine Lake area where that's not that excessive?
Right. I don't know. These are things we got to figure out. But garlic and soy fried chicken.
Sounds good.
Let me tell you what I'm going to do today, man. I've been inspired. I'm going to take some chicken breast nuggets. I'm going to put them in a Ziploc bag with soy and garlic. Mm. And then I'm going to put them in the air fryer at some point today and see if it tastes worth anything.
I got to be honest with you. Like, I haven't had fried chicken in forever, and reading this article makes me want to go get some chicken breasts and do the thing like you were talking about to put a little...
little baking powder on it.
A little baking powder on there and see if I can get a little crispiness of that fried. Because, I mean, who doesn't like fried chicken?
Dude, everybody, man.
It's amazing. And I haven't had it in forever because I don't eat that type of like really fried stuff very often.
Dude, and what happens is if you really don't eat that for a while, it will destroy your stomach if you go check it out.
I bet, man. And that's what you got to love about the air fryer because there's no grease or anything. You're just throwing in the baking powder.
Dude, the air fryer is fantastic. I told you I went out and got the one with the dual drawers. Now.
Yeah, man. You sent me that picture and I was like, damn.
Because I put some whitefish in there and it was fantastic.
I mean, you're getting seriously into this thing. That is a severe upgrade.
Oh, it's worth it because now you can cook 2 things at once, so your meat and your vegetables can be done at the same time. And I have my dude using the air fryer himself now.
That's fantastic. I saw somebody, and I didn't realize you could do this, and I don't know if mine came with this apparatus, but I guess I could get it. Somebody that sent me a picture of the wings they put in the air fryer, they had like a little grate that separated like the bottom from the top so they could do 2 levels in one air fryer.
Yeah, you can buy that.
Yeah, without them touching, which is what you're supposed to do so that the air circulates around all of it.
And for somebody like you, and I say this like this, you just Google it on Amazon and be at your house in a day or 2.
See, I need to do that because that was my problem when I did the wings before. And I think that's the one thing that we look at the air fryer and we go, well, what can we put in here and make sure? And that would help you to space it out so that everything gets cooked really nicely.
Which is also the benefit of having 2 drawers now because you can use them both.
All right. So the other story, and you've been on this for the last couple of days, and there just keeps more and more information keeps coming out about this. And this is Brian Reiser, the accused Dallas police officer who is currently sitting in prison. Well, not prison. I guess technically it's jail. He's on the Dallas County Jail. His bail is set at $5 million.
That's a big-ass bail.
And this is the dude who ordered a hit on 2 people while he was a detective, or an officer rather, with the Dallas Police Department, and he was named as a person of interest in their killings in 2017.
Wow. Yet, he's been roaming the streets, putting alleged bad guys, not named Brian Reiser himself,
Right.
away, which I don't see how they could let that happen, bro.
See, this is what's really weird about this. So there was a woman named Lisa Sands. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Liza Sands, whatever. 30 years old. She was murdered in March of 2017, and her body was dumped in the Trinity River. They arrested 3 men in that case eventually, and one of them told DPD in August of 2019 that Officer Reiser had ordered the killings in 2019. And this dude was just arrested 5 days ago.
You know, I don't know if they had like 24-hour surveillance on him or what. Because if you ordered a hit on 2 people, what stops you from ordering the hits on anybody else?
Yeah, because, I mean, hell, you found a hitman. Obviously, he does what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
You haven't getting caught. I mean, the whole hitman thing is bizarre to me. Like, how do you find a hitman to begin with?
Dude, it's easy. It's the way people get caught all the time. Like, if I wanted a hitman, here's how it goes. Hey, Matt, you know anybody capable of taking care of a job for me? What kind of job? I need somebody eliminated. Oh, well, yes, I do, Jacques.
Yeah, that's right. Of course. My
friend of mine.
Old Frank.
Yeah.
He'll take care of it for you.
And then Frank either does one of 2 things. Frank either goes to the police and says, hey, Jacques Taylor wants me out on a hit. You guys want to wire me up? Or he does it, and he ain't no good at it because he only charged me $700. And he gets caught, and he says, if you don't give me the needle, Jacques Taylor hired me. And then they come arrest me. They break in my home office while I'm doing the podcast.
Right.
They lock me up and take me away.
And there it is. And the cool thing is we have it all recorded, and it would be a super highly rated episode of the podcast.
Yeah, you get a lot of downloads for this one. Now, you wouldn't have any more because I don't think I could do it from jail.
Probably not.
But, you know.
But that one would be, listen to this. It'd be all over TV and everything. A local man was arrested, and his arrest caught live on their podcast. Audio now. Let's go live to the scene. Yeah, you know, the hitman thing fascinates. I mean, this whole thing is nuts because former Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall has said that he was a person of interest and not a suspect, and they were trying to keep it on the down low at the time because they didn't want to alert him, essentially. So instead, you were like, well, you know, let's not alert him. Let's just let him continue to do what he does.
Like, I can't imagine that anybody he arrested in the last 2 years is not screaming from the rooftops like, I was set up, I didn't do it, let me out.
Right,
And
yeah.
eventually that they're going to have to toss those cases out because you can't trust anything he did.
Yeah, I mean, this whole story, and it's a very, they had an update today on it in the Dallas Morning News that I was looking at. And again, it's this guy, Brian Reiser, and all these different people that he's connected to. And I mean, it is just... It is one of those things, man, that when you read this story, at some point, now I don't know if it'll be a major motion picture. At some point, this will be a movie.
I was just about to open my mouth to say that's got made for TV movie written all over it.
Now, if you really want to do it right, you get Michael B. Jordan to play this dude, or maybe you get Denzel, although he may be like, I played that guy in Training Day, which is fine. And you put some good actors in this thing, because this is a wild ass story of murder and deception by a guy who ordered a hit on 2 people 4 years before he was arrested. And for 4 years after he had a hit on 2 people, he was working as a police officer in one of the largest DPDs or PDs in the entire country.
And I got to tell you, the time he's going to do is not going to be any easy time if he's convicted. Yeah,
I don't know how long he'll last, man.
You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be easy. Boy, that time is going to be hard because you're either not going to be able to be in the general population, and if you are, you'd have to watch yourself basically 25-8. You know, it'd be, whew.
Yeah, because
life
other than
it is a wrap.
Yeah, they take care of you pretty quick. It's I mean, this thing is just this is just so insane. It's just insane. The fact, I just don't get it. A person of interest, and then 2 years ago, somebody goes, oh yeah, that dude. And you don't put him on leave. You don't say, hey, look, we need to look at this. This guy, people that we have arrested for these murders, for doing the murders, are saying that this guy told them to do it. You know what? Hey, let's just let him keep being a police officer and giving him access to internal databases and reports and let him patrol. It's fine. This is why, like, Mayor Johnson, Eric Johnson, the Dallas mayor, is pissed. And he has been putting out stuff. This is an awful situation. The public deserves answers regarding who knew what, when they knew it, why the officer remained on active duty. He has formed an ad hoc committee of council members to look directly into this case. And he says, I fully expect this committee to get to the bottom of exactly what transpired in a fair, judicious, and transparent manner.
Yeah, because it's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's absolutely crazy.
Tell you this, though, I will watch the movie when it comes out.
Yeah, you ain't never lied.
I'll be all over this thing, man, because I'm like, holy hell, this is nuts. So there you have it, a quick trip around the block. But hope everybody enjoyed that today. Don't forget, we still have a live show that we are planning coming up now, just 10 days away on March 20th. It'll be at Legal Draft Brewing Company, 3 o'clock, a live podcast. Jacques and I will be out there for 2 hours doing the show, hanging out with you guys, answering some questions, drinking some great beers. So check that out. Make plans now. Put it on your calendar, Saturday, March 20th, Legal Draft Brewing. But don't forget, find us on the Instagram, Jam Session Cast. Check us out on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. Thanks to Purple Elephant Music for the music you hear at the end and beginning of each episode. He, of course, the radio, TV, and now podcast star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor. I'm just a guy, Matt McLaren. Tell your friends. Spread the love. Bring in the new ones. And we'll catch you next time on the Jam Session Podcast, available everywhere you listen to podcasts.